Should I just start flirting with other women? My wife is maybe not showing any interest in me. Maybe I feel like I have a sexless marriage, a sexless relationship, or she wants separation. Maybe we're physically separated right now or separated in the same house, and she's kind of acting like she wants nothing to do with me. We work with men in this spot, and often they ask, well, should I start flirting with other women? Is that a good idea to do? What do you think about that? When should I start doing that? When should I start practicing my social skills? Well, let's talk about that today on the C Note Show here right now. Here on the C Note Show, we teach how to love and lead with mojo like a king to inspire intimacy and connection in long-term monogamous relationship between a man and a woman. She wants safety and inspiration and sexual leadership. So how do we do that? And how do we avoid big problems and solve deep marriage issues, relationship issues? That's what we're here to talk about with Cynthia today. Cynthia and I have over 50,000 hours combined in this field. We're both still licensed teachers. We both have academia in our background and coaching practice. We've been doing this coaching practice on our own since 2016 and worked with hundreds and thousands of men at this point. So we love these questions. We're passionate about relationship, long-term, intimate, monogamous relationship. So we're going to talk with Cynthia about this concept here today. Should I start flirting with other women? But let's talk about this in the frame and the time frame of if his wife right now wants separation, if his wife right now isn't interested in physicality. So let's assume that the man watching this or the men here live have been reading, they've been practicing, grounding their own selves. This isn't necessarily day one. Okay. And they're months or maybe years down the road. And they're asking, all right, do I neuter my own sexuality? If she's not wanting any kind of intimacy with me at all, or she's telling me that she wants me to, wait while she does her own work, but it seems as though we've been frozen. It's just in limbo. Talk with us about a woman's, what she might think in this spot of her man going out and being social with other women. Right? This is going to depend on the woman, obviously, but let's open this up. What might she in that spot, separated, right? Intimacy's not happening. Let's just begin this, please.
Yeah, there's a myriad of ways that she might react. I mean, there are some women who I've even heard them say to their partner, like, I want nothing to do with sex anymore. Just go out, get your needs met. I'm fine with it. Which has some story behind it. So there may be women who are completely fine with their partner flirting because, gosh, it takes the pressure off them and they don't feel any polarity anyways. And then there are other women where that would, even though she might put up a front of, I don't want any connection, I don't want to, I'm doing my own thing, I'm doing my own work, give me my space. The concept of her partner going out and even in that innocent word, connecting with other women is really going to alight in her evolutionary fear of his own prowess or bring heartache to her feminine. And neither one of those experiences she might react to are negative and in fact could be really positive. But I would say that that evolutionary brain in a woman is going to be activated even if she's put up that hard shell of, I don't care what you do, whatever, I just want to live my life while you live yours. That evolutionary part of her never dies. And so there is always going to be some response. And even the emotionality of that response can be a really positive thing for partnership, for polarity, for the possibility of long-term relationship.
Thank you for getting us started. So a man completely neutering himself would do what? If he just kills his sexuality, if he's waiting and he just neuters himself, okay, what does that feel like for a woman who's, regardless if she's separated or not?
Yeah, and especially if he's neutered himself upon her request or demand, she will feel that as limp neutral energy from you, and will not feel any fire or attraction, and in fact will put herself into like a false box of safety, that maybe your sexuality and your attraction toward women is something that she owns and gets to keep, even if she's not engaging with you in it. And none of those scenarios really spark in her the feminine receptivity, the desire to want your sexual energy and attention, and in fact will make her more neutral, more masculine, if not a little even like turned off by the limpness of the energy in the situation.
Yeah, good. Thanks for getting us started. So I'm curious, punch a one into the chat, and I'll look in the chat here in a second. Punch a one into the chat if you are asking yourself this question: should I flirt with other women? Or punch a one into the chat if you have at some point asked yourself this question: should I flirt with other women? Go ahead and punch a one into the chat if you've thought about that. So let's take a step forward as we look for the guys to punch ones into the chat. So what is flirting to you? This is a great question you have to ask your own self. And we're going to go through 4 different points that I prepared for us today. So what is flirting for you? And this is all of these excerpts from Psych Central are from one particular article. So is there such a thing as innocent flirting? These therapists both agree that yes, flirting can be innocent. You may not even realize you're giving off flirtatious cues. Ultimately, it's the intent behind flirting that determines if it's cheating. And there's a quote from the therapist here: we all know someone who's friendly, easily talks to anyone, and has a way of leaving an interaction with the other person feeling good, feeling extra good about themselves. This is an example of innocent flirtation. It's really about the intent behind the interaction. And we'll see some more from this as well. But Cynthia, let's talk about this as guys keep punching one into the chat. Well, if I'm a husband whose wife is separated, or it's this limbo land where she's asked him to basically wait, okay, and all of a sudden she doesn't like this man's interaction with other women, she may not see that as innocent. Okay. But that may not be actually a reason for him to stop. It may not actually be a reason for him to not do this. Okay. And this is where it's going to get touchy. So let's talk about this. She may not like it, but you said she may feel like she owns that space, like she owns his sexuality, even if she's engaging zero within that. So talk with us about, she may not like it, even if he sees it as innocent, according to this article. Talk with us about that.
Yeah. And I mean, I would have to put out there that this limbo land is, just excruciating. Is excruciating for you as a man. It's actually even excruciating for the woman as well, because even though she might be getting something out of the limbo land, a sense of power, a power over, an ownership, a false sense of confidence, it's a lot of work for her to be constantly barred off, armored up, hold up from the energetic space of your union. And you do want to add a little bit of fire to that. You do want there to be movement forward. You want her to be able to move out of limbo land into something more pleasant with you. And sometimes fire is not a friendly feeling for the feminine. Sometimes fire is a little bit of jealousy or enviousness, and it takes her out of this false sense that in having an arm out against you, she now has all the power. She owns the relationship space. She owns you. She owns your sexuality. And that's actually not a good feeling for her. So inviting her, even allowing her to feel uncomfortable and unhappy with, feeling jealous is not, it's hard for her, but it's also a good hard. It's a moving energy versus a stuck glass, ice, non-budging place.
Yeah, this encased in ice is what a lot of guys feel like in this spot. Yeah. Let's take a look at the chat here. Please tell us yes so that we can blame you. Yeah. Come on in and talk with us about that.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm at on this whole thing. It's been
Have you considered flirting with other women?
Well, when I'm, in the past, so I was driving with Uber, and I've gotten a few, ladies kind of reaching out, and we'd have the kind of the keeping the humor up, positive, kind of go back and forth a little bit. And I've had a few, I'm like, wow, what if I were to pursue this? And even maybe the innocent or the, more tempestuous flirting, felt good, that, I mean, I even had one lady, she walked out of the car. They had a few drinks, and it was a guy and two ladies sat in the back, which doesn't work for me. I always tell them, says, look, when you're mixed group, the pretty ladies come up in the front seat. And anyways, she got out of the car, and I never thought of myself this way. And she says to the guy, says like, that guy's hot. He's fucking hot. And I'm like, holy crap. I mean, because I don't see myself that way through that lens, and so maybe I'm more critical, but and again, she had a few. So, but and that type of feeling, it's like, I have not been getting that. So part of me is like, what if?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's really difficult when that part of ourself we've put on the back burner, or we felt like it's just been squelched for so long.
And in the relationship, that type of let's say play back and forth, that's been missing for years. And I've been, I like having that. And she's, I mean, like, is there nothing there? She doesn't like pick up on the cues or so. And I'm like, I'm not doing this by myself.
Yeah.
But you were going to ask me something.
I was going to say, what is flirting to you? What do you think flirting is? And really the questions start to come from here of, well, what's over the line? And we'll get into some other questions here, but what is flirting to you?
Kind of that, I guess, that playful banter. And, we've gone out before and, she said, hey, I don't, you're flirting with her. And I'm like, I'm an outgoing guy. And, I mean, we were at a bar about a year ago, and it was a young lady, and I, raised my hand and I said, hey, darling. And then my wife said, hey, can I talk to you a minute? After she had left, says, hey, don't tell the other ladies, the waitresses, servers, darling. Okay. But where I'm from, the older guys, that's what you do, and there was nothing intended about it. So I said, okay, just shut that down. And now I have to think, okay, try not to do that. But I'm really outgoing, very friendly, and, pick up a conversation with a lot of people. And I know that there's been a few times she's like, hey, don't be flirting with them. I didn't see myself doing that. That's the innocent flirting. I'm with her. I'm not trying to hit on the server there. But
yeah, I get it. So where do you feel like you are now in your relationship as far as intimacy and this thought of and flirting may mean it's across a line or just playful banter or socialization. Where do you want that to be for you right now?
In my relationship with my wife?
In your life in general. I'm not sure where this is with your wife, but in your life in general.
I mean, there is, still being married, there's that, like, the emotional cheating, I think, that you mentioned earlier. So that keeps me back. But then there's a part of me that I, would enjoy the playful banter with another lady, because I'm not getting that. In fact, our intimacy has been dry for, I can easily say, 2 years and 8 months.
Yeah, this is exactly why we're talking about this today. Thanks for jumping in. I'm going to press pause on you. Yeah. Take a step forward, because guys like you are asking themselves this question. We talk with you and guys like this every single day. So step forward. Well, what would be the goal? What would be the goal of the playful banter or the quote flirting? So again, from Psych Central, when is it okay to flirt with others while in a relationship? It may be okay to flirt with others when you and your partner have an open, clear understanding that this is acceptable in your relationship. In other words, you've been sharing boundaries with one another in a healthy way. You're open. You're willing to discuss these things in the context of what does intimacy and sexuality mean to us in relationship. And the final sentence here, behaving in a way that your partner wouldn't appreciate can be a clear sign that your flirting behavior is not okay. So it may not be okay with her. It doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong. But if you're in a relationship, this is about boundaries and honoring each other's wants, if that's where your relationship is. So she may not like it. Number 3, is this cheating? Okay, well, what is emotional cheating? Emotional cheating is when you develop a deep emotional connection with someone outside of your romantic relationship, with or without physical connection. There's a level of closeness, sharing, care, and vulnerability shared with another person that a primary partner would not be comfortable with. Well, again, if she's uncomfortable with it, that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong necessarily. And finally, both men and women can cheat emotionally. Infidelity says that women are more likely to be upset by emotional affairs, where men are more likely to be upset by physical affairs. I think we're both pretty upset by both. Let's say that. Okay. And finally, and then I want to bounce over to some of you guys in the chat here. So finally, number 4, well, what if my wife doesn't like it? What if my wife doesn't like it? Every relationship is different. What may upset you or your partner may not be the same that upsets someone else. Openly talking about your and your partner's expectations and your willingness to honor those is a healthy way of getting on the same page and establishing if flirting is cheating or if it gets too close to it for comfort. I'm going to ask Cynthia about this here in a second as well. One thing I want to point out, guys, is are you discussing things in a healthy way with your wife? Are you openly talking with things? Is she willing or wanting to openly talk with things about sexuality, intimacy with you? Is there willingness to honor each other? These are questions that are a basis of relationship. And if none of those things are there, then I would ask, well, what are we doing with our intimacy, with our social ability, with our want to connect in the world? Finally, for some, flirting is infidelity. For others, cheating means exclusively sexual acts. For others still, infidelity is an emotional closeness that should be reserved for a primary partner or significant other. Well, what if I'm not having emotional closeness with my partner or significant other? What if she doesn't want that with me? What if she doesn't care about that right now? That's what we're talking about here today. First time here, right? We connected over email recently. Come on in, say hi.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a pleasure meeting you both. I came on to you guys, and I really like your approach, both of you. I think everybody's in a different stage. Right now, I wouldn't consider flirting. That would scare me to death because I am a loyal person. I'm loyal to my wife, even though we are separated right now. And she controls everything. And I don't know, this is actually the second time, but it's a lot more deeper. And I was thinking about this. So everybody's at a different stage. But right now, I don't even want to consider flirting because I wouldn't be good.
The last thing he was saying was, I wouldn't flirt right now because I'm not good at it. That's a shitty reason to not flirt. We'll talk. We could talk about that more. I mean, we have to practice, of course. And if you're not good at flirting, period, then we've backed away from our own intimacy and sexuality for a long time. Like if we feel we're not good at flirting, then we're not good at flirting with our woman either. All right, let's take a step forward. You put in the chat, feel I need to be in the right space for flirting, for it to come from the right relaxed place, not attached to outcome. Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. So come on and tell us about you. What's life look like for you right now?
Yeah, as you say, I think flirting is good practice anytime, but it depends on how you and your personal, at least I find, how I am in my personal state really affects my mood and how good that comes across to other people. And certainly I've been up and down of late in terms of relationships and feel I'm tempted to step away, like I think Doug was saying there, to step away from flirting because I don't feel comfortable even in myself at the moment to be able to get that across in a happy and relaxed way to someone else. And I'd rather concentrate that more on certainly the person that I'm trying to get more interaction with, but certainly without it becoming across as being sort of too needy or too pushy.
Are you seeing someone right now?
Yeah, it's a good question.
It's complicated on Facebook, apparently.
Yeah, I've come out. I mean, you know my story. I came out from my marriage 2-3 years ago now, and then I had eight or so months doing the work, getting myself back together, and then met someone. Was with them for 2 years, and that ended slightly more abruptly than I would have wanted to. And then I do feel I jumped back into another relationship and was with them for 5 months until my ex came back into the picture, and it's been an abrupt sort of turnaround, and I've flipped back to my ex, which went on for 2 weeks, but she has recently sort of disappeared, moved back in, and then moved back out pretty much as quickly as she'd moved in, and that's gone very cold. We're still talking, but it's very dry, and so it's that sort of flirtation. But I'm still trying to get back to where I'm comfortable with myself before I can actually start feeling comfortable with getting across a more relaxed, happy, non-needy message to her. I'm trying to stay away from too much contact, giving her the space that I know she wants and needs, and just coming up with a few comments as to how she is, but then just throwing a few humor in there as well to see how that goes down, and just stepping back, give myself space as well.
Yeah, I was just talking with a guy earlier this morning about this, actually, where you feel like you're a guy again. You feel like you're your own self again when the marriage ends or when you do this work. Yeah. That spot. So how do you feel differently now versus when you were single versus when you were dating those other women? Do you feel more seems like you're uncertain about yourself right now?
Yeah, I feel I've had a lot of in this last relationship. There was a lot of anxiousness. It was a lot of breakups. There was a lot of very sudden splits from her, which I was reacting to, and I built up a lot of anxiety, I think, and in that feeling you get of sort of being alone, let's say, and not being comfortable with yourself, and then you start to beat yourself up again and think, oh, if I did things differently, how would that happen? If I was more honest, or if I hadn't done this. So I need that space for myself, and I've been working a lot. I've got the kids with me. I've had dealings with my ex-wife in terms of custody as well. So there's a lot going on. It's rebasing myself and finding myself again and getting back into my sports and priorities.
Yeah, sure. So when you were dating these other women, did you feel like you didn't honor your own self, that you lost your connection to sports, that you said honesty? Are you not proud of the man that you were when you were dating?
It's part of that, but I think part of that is maybe being too hard on myself as well. And certainly I was not journaling every day, but I made a point of when crisis points came up to sort of just go back through the last month or so and just go through how I was feeling and get that down on paper. And then going back now and reading that. And that helps certainly for myself to reassure how I was feeling in the moment, so that when I do look back, it's not as much it's what if, and it's not so much blaming myself. And just trying to give myself some space, not beating myself up all the time about it.
Yeah, that's fair. And we all go through those ebbs and flows of life, and it's times when we're connected with friends or times that we're not. Yeah. Do you have a question right now, since you're here and we've got Cynthia here on this call? Do you have a question about your wife and the current spot? Sounds like a whole thing, but do you have a question?
well, not my ex-wife. I guess it's with it's frequency of flirting. I mean, you're not going to be flirting all the time, I guess. And when do you bring it up? In all moments? Are you do you try and make light of everything, or is there time to be serious as well?
Well, sure. I'd love for you to answer that question. What would you say, Ian?
That's such a great question. I can feel in that almost a wondering of where's authentic self versus who the supposed to be is. And I can feel that as a woman. I will say that first, the person you get to be with, I would want for you that they get to enjoy your natural state, and then the parts of you that you're leaning into and flirting, and then your more serious part, and that they love that there's the emotional drama of that there's really serious times with you, and then really fun times with you and very sexy times with you. And then she can feel sometimes the sadness and the realness, and that she is attracted to your authentic expression of who you are in each moment and how you want to engage in the moment as this incredible masculine presence that you are, that can do everything from deep seriousness to light flirting to pushing the edge if you choose.
Are you judging yourself based off of a woman's reaction, like, oh, I did something bad because she's not happy?
No, but I feel it's too forced. That's what I'm feeling at the moment. It's too forced. So I want to get away. I don't want it to be forced. As you say, I want it to be natural. I want it to flow. And I need to be in that space, for me, the right mindset to be relaxed so that it can flow and it can come out naturally.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you. Good stuff. Awesome to see you. Sounds like you know what you need to jump back into. Are you able to come back in? We lost you there.
Yeah. So, again, a pleasure meeting both of you. You guys are really good. You're making me think a lot. So this is the second time that I moved out. My wife basically just threw a tantrum to get me out. It's a long story. I can't flirt because my heart is honest. I couldn't focus on two different people at the same time. I'm just not that kind of guy. I like to focus on one person. In this case, my wife, even though we are silent, not talking. And to be honest with you, Jeff, I listened to some of your videos and your rhetoric, and I think I really want to get it as far away as I can, but I am not in the comfort zone where I want to look at another woman and talk to her because I just wouldn't feel right. I want to be in the right and authentic mind because it's too confusing. You know, if you're in your heart, you're tugging on and going over what your wife talked about. And I've got a 17-year-old son who looks at me and he's like, what the hell is going on? And I got to step out, and I'm not there. So there's a lot of confusion and silence right now. And, the last thing I want to do is try to sit down and engage a woman, because that wouldn't be fair. I mean, if I got involved in that and got pulled out by my wife, it'd be like, oh, what am I, I don't want to do that.
This is the first time that we've met, and I totally acknowledge that. And yeah, I'm not suggesting that a man just run out and start, having sex or flirting sexually with other women. That's not what I'm suggesting.
Right.
There's so many men, including yourself, that have been in this limbo, no intimacy. She's super closed down. And so men often ask this question: should I flirt with other women? Or when do I start practicing even talking with someone else socially? Because I've lost my friends the past 10 years, 20 years. So do you feel like you're a social guy? Do you go out and connect with your own friends and have your own life?
Oh, I am totally social. I'm an extrovert.
Okay.
So I am totally social. I can talk to anybody. I'm in sales as a sales director, so I talk to anybody. It doesn't matter. I'm the guy that goes into the room and meets everybody and gets to know them because I'm interested. I think I could. The last time I went through this, I did meet someone, but I talked a little bit with that person. And you feel good because it postpones how you're feeling temporarily with your wife. It kind of puts that on hold, and you kind of share a few good feelings, somebody who's paying attention to you. And that I could do that. And that does help a little bit. The last time I did that, I guess my wife tracked my text messages or something, and she saw that I did text someone, but it was just to meet for lunch. It was actually a client, but it was a little flirtation because it was pulled in a little bit. And, she followed it. And I was like, she reacted in a very negative manner. And I was surprised at that. It was really no big deal because I wouldn't make it any big deal. So I guess I could. I'm in Florida. There's a lot of women around. My eye isn't out there doing that because I feel like I got to take care of this stuff first. And it's a mess right now. I mean, it's just bleh.
Yeah. So take us to the forefront. Fast forward for us, just for the sake of this call, while we have time. What might be a question that you'd have for either me or Cynthia on this call?
Well, I mean, I'd like to give you guys my whole story because I really think when my wife has thrown a lot of stuff at me, like a machine gun, like you guys talk about. I mean, blame, guilt, my fault, instability. But yet I've been the father to her son, my stepson, but he's my son. His father committed suicide about 6 years ago, and I'm his dad. And him and I are tighter than could be. The sad thing is she doesn't even acknowledge that at this point. Everything else is my fault. She kicked me out the door. She was going to call the cops on me. And my stepson, who's got a little bit of autism, came out and yelled at her and said, "Leave him alone." Because she's a Leo, and she just blew up, kicked me out the door, and there's a lot to it. So my question would be I think it was a smokescreen to hide the true nature of what she really was doing. So she blamed me for all this stuff at me, confused me, hurt me. I walk out grabbing everything like, what the frig was that? But I really think the truth underneath is something with her family. Her daughter came into town with her circus of a family, and she wanted to be with them. And I don't get along with her daughter. I never have. She just doesn't like me, and I don't know why, but she won't let me mend that. And so it's my fault. So her daughter's coming into town with her family. She wanted me out, and that's what she did. So she blamed me for everything she can think of, emotionally crazy. I mean, we sat and she told me these triggers or these emotional paths that didn't even make any sense. It was just didn't even make sense. And she acted like she was hurt, but it all came on me. And then she actually absolutely kicked me out the door. So I had to go. I'm not going to fight and scream and yell. I'm going to, okay, give me time. You know, no, you had enough time. And it's her family coming. Her daughter's coming into town. So my point is I think women throw all this stuff at you to confuse you like a smokescreen, but underneath there's something really raw there, or the honest thing is there. And I'm scared of it. I don't want to go back to it. This is the second time this has happened. Same reason. Happened 2.5 years ago. Same thing. Blame me. Daughters came into town, kicked me out. And then I started to talk to somebody else. I guess I was out long enough, probably about 5-6 months. We talked a little bit, reconciled. Intimacy was fantastic for a short period. And then for the last year and a half, she's controlling everything. And here it comes again. She went up to Georgia for probably the last 3 weeks within the month to see her family, came back. Here it comes. Her daughter's coming back into town, kicking me out again. So, you know, listening to you, Jeff, I don't want to go back to that. I got to hold my ground, but I'm just, everything is just like floating in orbit. I can't pull everything together. I'm trying. Every day's a better day. You know, I didn't sleep well last night. Everything was in my head. I don't know why, but it's just trying to find that settlement down. So flirtation will be there if it does pop up, but I don't really want to focus on that.
Sure.
I just want to
thank you. So
figure out what the hell is going on.
Thank you for your story. Thanks for opening your heart. You're not alone. Like, I've been through a similar spot. Every man that's come to this, we've all been through tragedy to come to this work. And the gateway to deepening ourselves, deepening our wisdom and our confidence and our mojo is through this work. So you're in the right place. Yeah. So
my question then to Cynthia, you know, all the lies and the smokescreen, and why is she hiding something underneath? Which I know that's the reason, because this is a pattern now. This is the second time, and it's identical. The good news about this is my son, he's 17. He stepped up and yelled at her to stop. And I left with that nugget because I thought, all right, he stood up for me. And that was a good sign. I left her with that. But I left, it's been a week now since I left, 4th of July. No word, nothing, no text, dead in the water, nothing. And I just don't want to go through this anymore. And I don't know what she's doing. You know, I mean, I don't know where she's coming from. So she's got her family around her now. She's with her grandkids, her daughter. And yet here I am, probably no remorse on her side. And why? You know, I'm a great guy. I mean, you know, she just kicked her son's second father out the door. Though he died of not from her, but he died of a gunshot wound. And she's kicking me out. And this kid, you know, we've got a great relationship. No remorse. And I'm just like, why? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. My heart just like was hurting hearing different parts of your story, Doug. And I first want to just honor that. Even though right now your wife is not receiving, not honoring, not celebrating you at all. The power of the gift that you give as a man with a masculine heart, who reaches out and wraps around not only this young man who needs you so much, but I'm sure the reason why people gravitate toward you is because you have this knowing of how to come from heart and to wrap around people, even if it's like selling, even if it's just engaging them, letting them feel a part of things. And I would imagine that because that is you, trying to understand your wife's actions is so kind of like trying to pull the rug out from under. Maybe this is something you've come across before, and I am chagrined to say this, but women do not have the same kind of sense of honor that men do. And then there's a big definition for that, and I know we're low in time, but I'll say, if a woman, you know, we'll talk about her evolutionary brain, is going down a path and there's a saber-toothed tiger that comes out in the path threatening something, she is more likely to stick whoever she can in front of herself and the tiger to protect herself. Whereas I know you as a man, that's the total opposite. You would stand out, and if it's even with your bare fingernails, fight the tiger. I don't want to say that to make your wife seem less than or like a horrible person, but it seems right now like she's in protection mode, avoiding fear. If I, right now I'm safe because I have family around me. So I'll push whoever I need to in front of the saber-toothed tiger. And that might switch. If she has anxiety of losing one part of her family, she'll kind of try to sacrifice another. And again, I ache in saying that because I don't want to make her seem like not a good person. But it sounds like she's acting purely on this evolutionary brain. She has no frame for, no skill with. And I'm
she is a good person. There's
deeply
two
sorry.
sides to her. There's a warm-hearted person that I fell in love with, and this other person that'll take me and throw me in front of the saber-toothed tiger without blinking. And her saber-toothed tiger is what she's experiencing with her daughter. And I'm not blaming that. I tried to do something with that relationship. I'm not around that family. They're in Georgia, but they come into town, and she does throw me in front of the tiger, under the bus, in front of the train, you name it. It's me. And I'm the one who comes back, and I would never do that to her. And I thought by showing her the love that I showed for her son, who is my son, and he will tell you this is my dad because of everything that happened, because I'm the one who has stood by. And that just blows my mind, and I can't wrap my head around it.
So we'll pause right there. There is a lot more to this, of course, right? This work is about how to feel confident within your own self, no matter what's going on with her, how to heal that space in between. This is what you're asking, what you're wanting. And it's fantastic that you show up for your son the way that you do. So we can pick this up on another call. We can pick this up one-on-one. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a good one. Ciao.